a really good friend of mine. I love him so much. It's Eric Schmidt! It's Eric
Keep it going for my daughter, Mia Faith Hammond, everybody. Hello. How is everybody doing? Good? Yeah? Good to be here. As Mia mentioned, my name is Eric, and a little bit about me, guys. I am originally from Florida. No. The correct answer is to boo there, actually. Growing up in Florida was interesting. When I was in the 9th grade, I volunteered to work on the Al Gore campaign. Which you guys may recall. That was the 2000 election, which you history buffs might recall was a close one. It was decided by just a few hundred votes. My job leading up to the election was to call old people to see if they needed a ride to the polls. And I learned a very valuable lesson about work ethic. If you don't work hard enough, the Iraq War happens. Lesson learned. Sorry about that. I'm from a small town in Florida, and I do feel a little out of touch with my friends back home, because like they've all either had kids or they're having kids or they're getting pregnant. And I'll be honest, guys, I thought a baby bump was when you did just a little bit of coke. But it turns out that has a double meaning. Fun story about cocaine. One time a friend of mine bought so much of it that the drug dealer tried to also sell him a gun. It was like a black market Amazon suggestion, The drug dealer was like, hey, people who bought this also bought that. We were like, well, I guess if it gets us free shipping, that's a pretty good deal. I had the cool parents growing up, and by that I mean that, like, when I was in high school, they sat me down. They were like, Eric, we were talking, and we decided that if you're going to drink, we want you to drink at home, where we know you're safe. And I was like, cool. So I invited some dirtbag friends over. We drank a bunch of my parents' alcohol. And the next day, my parents sat me down again. They were like, hey, you know what? Actually, if you're going to drink, go somewhere else. Yeah. That would be great. But hey, if you drink too much to drive, just give us a call. We'll come get you. And I was like, all right, that sounds fair. Tried that once. I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I'm too drunk to drive. He said, me too. Sorry. But I live in New York now, so I don't have to worry about that kind of thing. I can just get a cab if I'm too drunk to drive the subway home. It's nice. Been living in New York for 15 years now. Yeah. It's great. I love it. I live in plot twist. I don't live in Brooklyn. You guys were just profiling me. I actually live on the Upper West Side. I'm a fancy boy, So, it's near Central Park, which is this cool park we have up there. And I love living near the park, but a weird thing happened to me the other day. I was walking through the park, and a man, approached me, and he was like, you missed it. And I was like, what? And then he doubled down. He repeated. He was like, you missed it. I asked, what did I miss? He said, Ed Sheeran just rode by on a bike. So that kind of pissed me off, Finding out I look like an Ed Sheeran fan. It's no good. Here's a fun fact about New York City. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. Women are allowed to be topless in public in New York City. Yeah. I mean, usually that gets a standing ovation, but this is okay. And I looked it up. I guess what happened is this woman sued the city back in the 90s, and she was like, she made the argument that if men are allowed to be topless, then women should also be allowed to be topless. And she won, which, yeah, no, that's pretty cool. The judge agreed with her. And so now, obviously, maybe she won because she made good legal arguments. But I think maybe she won just because she got lucky and just got like a real horny judge. You know? She's like, women should be allowed to be topless. And the judge is like, I agree. Whiskey. Thanks, Jake, for the whiskey. Give it up for Jake, by the way. Tip him well, too, guys. Big fan of the sauce myself, but not much for weed. I'm not like a big weed guy, and I actually don't smoke it at all. I think it should be legal and everything, you know, for you guys. It's not for me. And people are often surprised when I tell them that because I look like a genie who lives in a bomb. So. People, friends and family have been asking me, they're always like, hey, Eric, how long are you going to let your hair grow? How long are you going to let your beard grow? Which is just their fun way of telling me they think I look bad. I'm 39 years old. Thank you for believing me. It's true. People, but like you guys might be surprised to hear this. People often guess my age correctly when they're talking to me, like in person. They'll say something like, what are you, 39? And I'll be like, yeah. And then they'll look at me like, because they were lowballing. That wasn't a real guess. I was recently savagely roasted by a 5-year-old, which is very humbling if that's never happened to you. I was down in Florida visiting some family, and my cousin Liz has a son named Colin, and we were hanging out, and Colin was like, guess how old I am, or something like that. And I was like, you're 5, right? And he was like, yeah. And then I said, well, do you know how old I am? And he said, 68. So, yeah, wow, yeah. So at this point, I figure Colin has like a learning disability, you know? Maybe he doesn't know how age works yet. Maybe he thinks his parents are like 100 or something. So I asked him, I'm like, Colin, do you know how old your parents are? And he said, yeah, they're 40. So little bastard does know how age works. And he still thinks I'm 68. Now, if you're keeping score at home, my Aunt Sue is 68. And that's important to know because my Aunt Sue is Colin's grandmother. He thinks I'm grandparent age. People definitely do treat me differently because of the way I look, for sure. I feel like people who work in like customer service in stores, they take one look at me and they're like, well, I don't have to be very professional with that guy. I had to get a new phone. So I went to the Verizon store, I had to get a new phone the other day, and the guy that was helping me out got so casual with me that he started calling me the N-word. I don't know if you've clocked it yet, but I am white. So he was calling me the N-word. And I know what you're thinking, what you're wondering, what you're asking in your head is, was he, the guy calling me the N-word, black? And the answer to that question is, well, he told me he was Dominican. So I don't know. I don't know how that works. Because I'm like a nervous white. That's how I identify. Like if I'm at a bar and the bartender is black, I won't even try to order that one type of Modelo. You know, not tricking me. Well, you know, I guess if I really leaned into the Spanish pronunciation part, I could maybe get away with it without any fuck ups. You know, I could just I could just really roll that R, you know. I could be like, yes, hello, bartender. I'll have a Negra Modelo, please. Thank you. Wait, hold on. I got one more thing to say. Thank you was in that scene I was doing with the bartender. All right, so hold on. So I'm not done. You guys are wasting valuable time, goddammit. We'll get that sketch troupe in here again, I swear to God. All right. So I went to, this is like Spanish, this is related to the Spanish thing I just said. So I went to Mexico City for the first time recently, first time in Mexico. It's a wonderful place if you've never been. And before I went, I had heard that, like, you know, the water there is, you're not supposed to have the tap water. It can make you sick, right? So this is just education at this point, guys. The jokes are over. So I went, and so I had to ask some friends who had been before me, you know, how serious I had to take that. You know, I was like, because I was concerned. So I was like, hey, like, how strict do I have to be? Did you use the tap water to brush your teeth? And they were like, no, you can't do that. You can't even do that. Like, you got to be real strict. And I was like, wow, so you guys didn't even have, like, ice in your margaritas? And they were like, oh, no, we had ice in the margaritas. Yeah. Now, guys, that's the power of margaritas. Makes you do something dangerous and completely forget about it. Now that's my time. Thank you so much.